y'all. I hope you guys can hear me. Hey, good morning. Bon dia, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you. Okay, so let me just look really quickly and see if I got any last minute questions on Instagram. And then I'm going to go through the questions that you all have sent me in addition to the questions that I get frequently asked the most. So let me just hop on to Instagram. Hope everybody's having a good morning. Okay, so one of the questions is from Wellside Retreats. I'd like to study in Portugal at 50 plus years of age before retiring. Your thoughts? Girl, do it. My thoughts are relevant, honey. If you want to go to school and do it. I have no idea how you do it because I didn't come to Portugal on a student visa, but I'm always going to tell you to do whatever you want to do, love. So I'm with it. What are the less expensive neighborhoods outside of Lisbon starting at $700? Okay, so we're going to get into that. We're going to start with how to, I move stuff around on my computer, guys, so bear with me because it is drama over here. Okay, so this is one of the most frequently asked questions I get, and that's how to find reasonable housing and accommodations in Lisbon or Portugal in general. So here's the thing. The word reasonable is relative, okay? So I don't know what's reasonable to you may not be reasonable to someone else. So you kind of got to be specific whether whoever you're talking to in regards to accommodation. So here's a fun fact you have to realize. When I came to Portugal, it said that it was one of the more affordable European cities, right? Is that the case now in 2000? What year are we in? I don't know what year we're in anymore, y'all. Whatever year we're in right now. Is that the case right now? Are there places in the United States? And guys, I know we have a community of people that are various parts of the country. I'm going to talk as though I'm speaking to people who are US based because that's the majority of my audience. So forgive me if you live in another country and you have some of these questions. A lot of the stuff can comply. Bon dia, everyone. You're right. Lisbon is pricey. Okay, Lisbon is pricey. This is from someone who's coming from the United States. Washington, D.C., in fact. I lived from one of the most expensive cities in the United States of America, and Lisbon is expensive. Now, I say that to say, here's the things you have to remember when you're attempting to move in Portugal specifically or abroad. Lisbon is the capital city. So if you decide to live in the capital city of any country, okay, United States, Turkey, all the capital cities, all the cities tend to be more expensive than the outskirts. That's just what it is. Some countries are going through gentrification the same way that we're going through it in the US, Lisbon being one of those, okay? So Lisbon is the New York, the DC of Portugal. So if your decision is to move to Lisbon specifically, you are going to probably pay more. Now, it is a walkable city. It does have certain amenities that you can easily get to. A lot of people speak English. I know many people want to come to Portugal and they're completely not realizing that they don't speak the language of Portugal. They don't speak Portuguese. So if that is your plight, you really have to think that through, even if you're attempting to move outside of Lisbon. So I live about 25 minutes outside of Lisbon. I still live in the district of Lisbon, but I don't live in Lisbon city. Okay, so I did when I first moved to Portugal. Okay, and actually it was a good transition for me because I didn't know the language, and majority of the places I went, people spoke English. So I'm gonna be honest with you, the first year I didn't really even attempt to learn, and I was so busy trying to get caught up on immigration stuff, like making sure I was doing what I needed to do to be right with the government, and filling out paperwork and going to my immigration meetings and stuff, that I just couldn't handle. I don't think I was able to handle everything all at once. So now year 2 in is when I moved out of the city of Lisbon, and therefore learning the language was critical. Okay, so down the street, my baker, the cafe, one of the waiters does speak a little English, but everybody down there speaks Portuguese, which is the expectation. You are in someone else's country speak the language of the country. Like that. So I believe in that. I just suck, but I'm better now, but we'll get into that later. So let me just pull up some, and guys, if you have any questions, put Q by your question so that I will know it's a question versus just communicating with the community. So let me pull up my iPad real quick. Get it together. Okay. Why is that there? Get out of here. Are you serious? You're not gonna leave? Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that here. Sorry, y'all. I'm having a little technical difficulty. All right, let's get that down there. All right, so let me just open up real quick. All right, so Booking is the website that I use pretty much everywhere, regardless of where I have to stay, because I like the way I'm able to search here. You can use this in Lisbon. You can use it wherever you go, but let me just show you. So right now I'm at Lisbon. I just threw some random dates here. And you see on the left-hand side, oh, you can't see that good. Let me move that over a little bit. So you can see, because my head is in the way. My head is in the way. Okay, so now you should be able to see that. So you see on the side where you can filter, see where it says your budget, okay? So look at that. And so I typically want something that has ratings that's like an 8 or above, and then 4 stars at least. I could do 3 stars. I don't know why I'm acting like that. But you find out what you want for your accommodations, and you post what works for you here, okay? And so the thing that I like about this specifically, if you go to the middle where it says price lowest, you can click this at, oh shoot, what did I just do? Uh-oh. Okay, hold on, let me go back. That's not what I wanted. See right here when you can go to price lowest first, you can click that and then you'll just see the lowest price first. And then you can scroll based on what is important to you. Because people ask me what neighborhood and where should they stay. We're internet strangers, folks. We're part of a community, but we're internet strangers. I don't know what you want. So here's Booking. Check out Booking. Of course, you can also check out Airbnb. Airbnb is very self-explanatory. If you haven't used Airbnb before, it's pretty user-friendly. So you can just go ahead, put in the amenities that are important to you. And so you have to remember, particularly if you've never left the country before, the amenities that you may be used to where you are may not exist in other countries, or they may cost more, because you got to consider economies to scale. If it's something like, let's say, air conditioning that isn't in most apartments, if you want it specifically, you're going to pay more for a set apartment, okay? So the same way, if you want amenities in the States, it's going to be the same thing, folks. So just consider that when you're thinking about your pricing. Now, the apartment I stay in, I don't have central heat or central air, but that doesn't bother me. I'm right off the coast. I got a wonderful breeze. I haven't had any issues, and this is going on my 2nd year staying there. So you kind of got to figure out what works for you. So that's Airbnb. The other one is Idealista, and you can click over here to rent. Let's just say Lisbon. And the thing that I like about Idealista is that you can find your neighborhoods over here. Okay, so you see where it says areas in Lisbon. This can give you some ideas about the neighborhoods. And you see where it has that plane. Can I make that bigger? Maybe not. Oh, I can. Look at that. So this is some of the neighborhoods that you can look into and start to get an idea based on where the apartment is, the amenities it has, and what neighborhood you may want to be in. Now you see where the water is? That's the stuff that's going to be on the coast, obviously, right? So if you feel like you want coastal life, then you might want to look in some of these neighborhoods. And so when I decided to move, I stayed in a bunch of different Airbnbs all over the district of Lisbon, because I knew nothing about the neighborhoods. And I think the reason that helped me a lot, because I learned, okay, what was more important to me? Did I want to be walking distance to the grocery store or the market or the metro? You got to figure those things out. And the best thing for you to do when you figure that out is go to good old Google, type in the amenities that you like, pool, whatever sport you're into, and just type in Lisbon, Portugal, and see what comes up. And then the neighborhoods, of course, there's more neighborhoods than this. This is just for Lisbon, okay? This is not all of Lisbon district, but let me come back out and show you. So let's just go to show all. Oh, maybe not. Okay, let's just go to this neighborhood. And so what I want to show you, why are we doing all this? I don't remember the website doing all this. Okay, so you can go peruse through here, buy or rent of the various apartments. You can look, they do square meters here, not square footage. If you are looking for apartment rooms are discussed as T. So you'll see T0, which will be efficiency, T1, which will be 1 bedroom, T4, all of that, right? So that'll tell you how many. So you see right here that says T3, that's 3 bedrooms, okay? You can go and look until your heart is content. So take some time, look at that. Another one is Remax, okay? So it's Remax.pt. So in the States, of course, we have Remax, we have Century 21 and all those other ones. They do have them here in Portugal as well. So you can go to the website, it's Remax.pt. When this is over, guys, I'll put the links of the stuff that I'm talking about in the description box. But let's make this, let me accept. And I can't remember if I can, you can convert this to English. It's just for some reason I'm forgetting how to do it right now. Oh, there it is. Come on, girl. Okay. So just go ahead, rent, just put Lisbon. Let's see what we come up with. And so here's the thing that I want you to consider, folks. You are going to need to you may need to talk to a real estate agent just so you can have a better understanding, because I don't have the listings of everything that's available in Portugal. You get that, right? Like, I'm from Washington, D.C. If someone had contacted me while I was living in D.C. and asked me about apartments, or I'd be like, girl, I don't know. I live in a house. I have no idea what apartments are. Same thing here. I don't look for apartments anymore, so I have nothing about the listing. The real estate agent can give you a better idea based on the amenities that you're saying you need, in addition to how much you want to pay. They can put you in the appropriate neighborhood. I would not know that. I've only lived in certain areas in Lisbon and a little bit outside of Lisbon. That's all I got. So there can be other things that can accommodate your budget. It's just I'm not aware of them, of course, because that's not really my ministry. So contact a real estate agent. One of the things you have to understand is that you know how we have an MLS in the States that it will encompass all real estate. They don't really have that. I don't think they have it in Europe in general, because one of my friends who lives in Spain said the same thing. So basically, a real estate agent can list what they have in their inventory, and there's a ton of real estate agencies all across Portugal, okay? So I didn't know that when I first came, and so I would say what I wanted, and a real estate agent would show me some things that I didn't want that. Like, I told you what I wanted, so why are you showing me this? But they could only show me what they had in their inventory because it wasn't all connected. So you have to consider that as well. You may need to get a couple, but just initially, just have a conversation as to what you're looking for, what the amenities are that you want, and how much that will cost. Your rent is going to be your largest expense in Portugal. There's some other things that end up being cheaper. Of course, your health insurance, by far, going to substantially be more affordable, in my opinion, than anything in the States. So you kind of got to look at the overall picture and not just the rent. But there are some affordable places. I know a young lady asked about 750 as her budget. She said 700. I pay 750 for my 1-bedroom apartment. If there's things that are less expensive, I have no idea what they are, because I would have lived there. So I'm not quite clear, but I hope that answers your question. Okay. So guys, and if you're just joining us, if you have any questions, I'm going to answer them first come, first serve. So just put them in there, put Q by your question, and then we will get into it. So that's what I have for finding reasonable housing. Check booking, use the filter based on the pricing. And see if that works for you. Airbnb, and then the other one, I forgot what I got. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Oh, before I go to the next question, I also want to let you know, for you guys who are moving to Portugal, or you're already here in Portugal, we are doing the language classes again. They're going to start October 5th. We only have 20 spots available. If you want more information, the link is in the description, and that is for the language course. There's 20 of us all over the world. This is our second year doing it. And if you are deciding to move outside of Lisbon, I would strongly suggest you take a language class. Doesn't have to be ours. It can be any language class, but it's going to help you just have a more enriching experience, because you really take for granted being in a place where you know the language, because basically you're out here and you're illiterate because you can't read Portuguese and you probably can't say it. So it's important to at least get those basic things in there. Okay, so one of the questions I got, is there a problem renting with pets? First question. I don't think so. I have a lot of friends here who have adorable pets, and there are a lot of pets here in Portugal. I imagine it's probably the same as it is in the States. Maybe you have to do a deposit. Maybe there might be some apartments that won't rent, but it's not that you should have an issue because you have a pet, because there's tons of pets, people with pets here. So don't worry about that. Do you use co-working spaces? I personally do not. The co-working spaces I've seen around Portugal have been I don't understand why they're that expensive. I haven't seen one I'm thinking, I've seen them like 300 to 400 euros a month. And I think that's pricey if you paying 700 euros for your rent and you like live there and sleep there and eat, and you want me to pay an extra 300 for co-working, that don't really make logical sense to me. But of course, if that floats your boat, go in that direction. So no, I don't work in co-working spaces. And I think the addition to that question is, I usually work at home or at one of my friends' house. Over the summer, I had started working at beaches. So you can get like a hotspot from Vodafone. And it's been really good. Like if I'm doing something basic like emailing or something like that, I have streamed on it before. So you could just take this hotspot, go to the beach with your computer, or I usually do it on my iPad, and get your work done that way. So that's the way I prefer. But yeah, also I'm an introvert, so co-working spaces don't really get me excited. I don't want to be around a whole bunch of strangers when I work. So, but yeah, hope that is helpful. Okay, next question. How long will the visa process take? I get this question a lot. And here's the thing, y'all. You got to remember that you're doing immigration. Okay, so this is your immigration is a big, long, drawn out process. It can take someone a short period of time, and it could take you forever. And for my U.S. citizens, I really want you, I'm not sure if you all know anyone who's come from another country and had to go through the U.S. immigration process. It's a lot. Okay, so I cannot tell you that your visa will take 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. Y'all get that, right? Like I can't do that. It depends on so many factors. It depends on where you're applying in the states. It depends on what the backlog is for that particular state. So it's a lot. The people who can tell you that, or the embassy is where you're applying, they can give you a better idea as to how long the process will take for you. So, but I'll say this to say, if you're planning on moving to Portugal, you got to get that time frame out of your energy. Like just expect things to just take as long or as short as it may need, and just expect it to take forever. It may not, but then it's like a bonus if it works out for you, because you're dealing with government agencies. Like for example, no matter what state you lived in, if you had to go to the DMV and get like anything DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles related, you just had to mentally brace yourself to know that this may be ridiculous and I might be here throughout my whole life. And if you're not, and it's quick, bonus. But you mentally got your brain together to be like, this is the process I'm about to do, dealing with a government agency. I need you to take that same energy and apply it to your visa. You are dealing with various government agencies, some US, some foreign, and you just got to rock with it. Okay, so I can tell you how long my process took, but that does not mean that's going to be how long yours is going to take. So please take that into account. All right, so if I feel like I applied in July, I got my visa in August. I think I left again in August. So that is, you know, how long. And mine was in the middle of a pandemic, okay? At the beginning part of the pandemic. I'm shocked that it even happened. So, yeah, and it depends on how complicated your application process is, like how you show whatever you're showing to, you know, whatever. So I know that's not like an actual answer, but that's like the only answer I can give you. I'm sorry. Okay. What do you recommend suggest that we do to start our process to live in Portugal? Again, this is relative. So a lot of stuff I'm gonna say if it was me, because that's the only person I can speak for. And so many of you, if you've been following me through this period, y'all know I just jumped out there on some whatever, and I would not advise that. I was super emotional. People had passed away. I'm like, you only live once, YOLO. Like, I was real. Don't do that. Don't don't do that. It ended up working out okay, but the first 2 months, I feel like it was 2 months. It might have been a month. I'm not sure. Were hard. Like, I cried every single night. Probably, I always felt uncomfortable. It was a lot. And I really don't want anyone on purpose to experience that. A lot of this just depends on your personality. So one of my big suggestions: come visit, see if you like it. Portugal may not be your vibe. And the last thing you want to do, in my opinion, is go through the whole immigration process, get there and be like, oh, I don't like it. Well, what? So I think you should kind of check that out. Now, it's important to know, if you're just meeting me, that I traveled extensively 3 years prior to moving to Portugal. I was determined to move out of the country, period. I didn't care where it was going to be. And then as I decided to figure it out, it ended up being Portugal. Okay, so you gotta understand that if you have never left the country before, it's gonna be a completely different experience. So take that into account. What do you do to start? It depends on how you're coming here. I would say the first thing you do, find out if you like Portugal. That would be the first place to start. Hope that is helpful. Okay, next question. Do you suggest getting a lawyer or professional help when trying to apply for your D7? So this, again, sadly, this is going to be a relative question. If you want to know what I did personally, I did not use a lawyer. I pulled together the documents myself, and I pulled it together. Okay, so that's what I would tell you. But you gotta know you. You know what I'm saying? So if you're like, I can't deal, it's gonna be stressful, whatever, then by all means hire a professional if you want to rock with that. But do understand, many people, including all of my friends who are currently in Portugal right now, did it themselves. They did not hire an attorney. So now if you, well, yeah, no, when I think people who may have more complicated situations did, but for the most part, for everyone I know, well, we just did it ourselves. So it's a personal thing, yeah. Okay, next question. How far in advance should I start my visa application? Okay, so you guys remember, I can't tell you how long it's going to take. You would need to contact the embassy in which you are applying, and they can hopefully give you more of a guide as to the time frame. Now, with that being said, you got to remember that a lot of the stuff that they're asking of you is time specific. So I think your FBI paperwork expires after a certain amount of time. I can't remember how long. So you have to submit all that paperwork and updated bank statements and all that other stuff with your application. So in regards to how far in advance, I guess it depends on when you're coming. And I would say at least plan 4 to 6 months out in regards to getting the appropriate visa. Now, here's another thing you have to remember, guys. I did not move here with a visa. I know some people are doing that, and I guess, hey, knock yourself out. I came here on a tourist visa first. So I was in Portugal for something like a year. I was still kind of going back and forth from Portugal to the States to kind of like get stuff over and move and doing the most. So I came on a tourist visa, and then the pandemic hit, and I couldn't get back in the country. I couldn't get to the apartment. I couldn't get to my stuff. And I was like, what? And I was devastated. And the only people Portugal was letting in were residents. And I was like, all right. So I went to the embassy in DC 9 separate times because I did not know what I was doing. So I went into the office the first time to get the checklist and understand what I was doing. And guys, I'll leave the link as to the process that I took in the description. Just give me a minute after this live to do it because I didn't put it there now. So let me get my life. So yeah, I went to the woman. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Here's my situation. What am I doing? And she was like, okay. She gave me the checklist and she told me I need to fill this out. Went there, tried to get the documentation, did some things wrong, okay? And I came back and she's like, oh, particularly the accommodations, I think I did it for 3 months and I'm supposed to do it for 6. That is going to vary based on where you are applying. So find out the information based on where you have to apply, okay? So she told me 6 months, so I had to do that. And I had to keep coming back because I was messing up. But after a while, it was right, and I submitted, and I would say, a couple months later, I got my visa. So start the visa application, I would say 4 to 6 months out. Let's go with that. All right. Should you move to Portugal if you have never traveled abroad? Whew, this is a good question, and understand that. So here's the thing. Let's get up close and personal for a second and talk about that. I've been getting some relatively alarming emails over the summer. Many of you know I took the summer off. I came back to the States, saw friends and family, and just straight vegged out with them, right? So if you sent me emails during the summer, I ain't answer them because I was really on my family thing, right? So, but I've been getting some alarming emails of people who had traveled to Portugal or visiting Portugal, and they are frantic, okay, because of the culture shock. And I'm not sure that people really process that that's a real thing, particularly if you've never left the country before. And if you've never stayed out of the country for a substantial amount of time. So this is an important question because I know that, especially in the States, there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of fear. Just a lot that people are going through, and I get it. And you want to leave, and I get it. But if you haven't left the country before, sometimes there's just certain things that you haven't experienced that's going to make your process substantially more harder if you decide to make this jump. Okay, so for example, I traveled extensively. I told y'all that, right? And I was in a bad way, crying, emotional, not knowing what I was doing, thinking I made a mistake, just stressed out because I don't know the language. I can't communicate. I'm doing all of that in month 1. My friend Maisha, God bless her soul, if she is watching today, she heard me on the phone losing it. You know what I mean? Every night. And I'm sure because she's just a dope friend, she probably was like, girl, just go home. I'm sure that's what she wanted to say to me, but that's never what she said to me. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I feel like this. I cried on the phone with my best friend. I had a straight breakdown in the Sheraton Hotel in Sardinia because it was a lot. And I moved here by myself. I didn't know anyone. It was a lot, okay? And I was an experienced traveler. I had been to maybe 30 countries or something like that prior to moving, okay? And I still experienced it. And it's not to say that maybe you won't experience it when you move out of the country or move to Portugal specifically. I just want you to be aware of it. And so you have to be super, super gentle with yourself and gracious and just know that you're going to go through these things because things are different. And you may not get that until you really leave. And then your family, your whole support system may be in another country and you're going to feel a certain kind of way. I don't know anyone who hasn't. Things are going to go on in the States. People are going to have birthdays. People are going to have celebrations. Someone may pass away. And that's still another life, your life, a part of your life that you are leaving or you have left or something may happen and now you're in a whole nother country. That's a real thing, okay? And people say, how do you deal with it? You just deal. It's not like you could take a pill and it be less emotional, less stressful. That's not a thing, okay? So I say all that to say, first of all, you grown, okay? We're internet strangers. You could do whatever you want to do, okay? Would I advise it? Not really. I don't think I would say, now some people were just gangster. They could just pull it off and do it. I think not having a community was super hard at the beginning. I mean, super, super hard. And if you have not traveled out the country before, I'd imagine it is harder. That's just what I feel. I could be wrong. Okay, wait, I skipped some questions. Let me make sure. Visa, got that. Okay, start in advance. Okay, start my application. I think I missed some. But if I find out where I left off, I'll go back. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. Do you suggest we start our process now or in a few years when did I write that wrong? Guys, if it's typos in here, forgive me because I'm all over the place. A few years when we retire. So here's the thing: if you're not retired and you're trying to apply for the retirement visa, you can't. Like they're going to ask you for documents to show that you're retired. So can you start the process? And even process is relative. So if you, what is going to be a process? If you're saying visa process, it's going to be super hard for you to apply for a retirement visa and you're not retired yet. So I don't know because I'm not retired and I didn't apply for that visa. But I would assume that you have to be retired to apply for the visa, but I don't know. But if you're saying your process of just deciding if you want to move to Portugal, you could start that like today. Go ahead, book a trip, figure out, check it out, see if you like it. You may not, you may like it. And you could start that process whenever you want. But if you're saying the visa process specifically, I am under the assumption that you need to be retired to apply for the retirement visa. Okay. Okay, so that's the question I left up on. Okay. All right. Now, how smooth is it to live there? So the smooth thing, I'm not sure what that means. I don't know, like how easy is it to live here? How easy was the visa process? Folks, my experience is not necessarily going to be your experience. So when you say how smooth is it to live here, I'm assuming that means easy. How easy is it to live here? That's going to be relative, folks. It depends on what your day-to-day is, how you navigate through the world, if you're an introvert or extrovert. Extroverts, I don't know what y'all doing because y'all gotta like make friends and stuff and like go places and be around people. So I really don't know how extroverts are surviving in these streets. They may do well. I'll try to find one and I know the exact person. I'll get an interview with her and see how she feels in regards to smooth. Now again, I've spent extended amount of time out of the country, so never any like long like years, but I've been 2 months, 3 months, all that out, right? So I am it. After I got my rhythm, like I knew where my grocery store was, I knew where I can get me a little cocktail, I knew where I can get some good food. It was relatively smooth for me. But that first month, like I told you, bananas. It was hard. It was super hard. Okay, so again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please put Q by your question so that I know that you have a question specifically for me and that you're not just like communicating in the community. And that way I'll answer your question. I'll try to stay on here as long as you need me. Okay. Again, just reminding people we have the language course that is coming up October 5th. I see I have some of my classmates up here in the chat, so that's super dope. And we're doing our language to start in the same date. But the intro class, it's with our instructor, Inez. She is awesome. And throughout the week, I'll interview some of my classmates. So we'll talk about our experience working with Inez. It's only 20 spots for the intro class. Once we get 20 spots, we're closing down the class. So know that. And this is done virtually. The good thing about it is you do get to meet people and start to build your community. And the cool thing is like even people who live here, who we were in the class together, like a lot of times we go do stuff together. So it's like you get to build your friend circle before you get there, which has been super dope. All right, next question. How to make friends when moving to Portugal. Oh shoot, I was supposed to put a video there. That's my notes to me. See, so raggedy. Anyway, how do you make friends moving to Portugal? So I think this is a super hard question for me because I'm an introvert. So even if you're an introvert, you still going to need a community. I learned that the hard way. So one of the things I would recommend is getting on Facebook groups and starting there. I don't necessarily feel like you're going to stay there because sometimes these Facebook groups can be savages, right? Some people aren't friendly in there. I don't know. Start there. Start Facebook. Start expat groups. Whether it's Portugal or any country, city you decide to move to, look for expat groups in addition to the city location you're going to be in. Then you can possibly find someone in that group that doesn't mind meeting strangers. Understand that when you want to meet people, it's nothing personal, but this internet thing, like we don't know each other, you know what I mean? So we still have to take that into account. but you could possibly find someone who remembers being in the same situation that you're in right now, scared, not knowing anyone, and would be willing and able to, come out and meet with you, or give you some type of insight as to what the process is there. Now, what I will say, if you are in these Facebook groups, what typically makes people turn into savages is when you ask super, super general questions like, I want to move to Portugal. How do I do it? They are going to come for you in those groups. They're going to come for you because you have to, in order to get a really good answer, you have to be relatively specific in what you want to do, i.e., I'm interested in studying in Portugal. I was looking at X university. Has anyone had any experience with the university or getting a student visa? But make sure you searched in the Facebook group to understand if that question had already been covered. But don't just come something basic or general being like, well, how do I move there? Like, they're going to be like, well, we don't know nothing about you. Give me some more information and maybe they can help. So I would say start in the Facebook groups. Where else? So I think the question was specifically, how do I make friends? And so because I moved here 2 years ago, and it wasn't really many people here, I think that I had met. A lot of them I met off the internet, even though I'm like really freaked out about doing that now. That's kind of how I did it. Like, people reached out to me because, of course, I was sharing my story of moving to Portugal. So some people reached out to me, and we connected that way. But I think the thing when you move out of the country, you get attracted to people's energy. Like, your intuition that you're born with, it just comes back full force when you were pulled out of the environment and you don't know what to rely on. So just pay attention, because everybody who's out, may not be your cup of tea or be out for you. So just remember to just trust your instincts. If something feels weird or funky, bail out or leave it alone. And that's just anywhere. But I feel like energy, I've experienced it more here because I'm not so caught up on other stuff. Like, you're not grinding at work all day and trying to shove some food down your mouth and go to the next meeting. You have the time to kind of like be. And so I feel like your intuition speaks to you a little bit louder than I did and has ever spoke to me in my life. And I think you like attracts like, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to sound like some gypsy or anything, but that's kind of how I feel. So how do you make friends? I'm sure that answer did not help at all. Let me think about that. I should have thought about it because I put a whole slide together for it. I feel like, yeah, I mean, the language class does help because I don't know, Barbara, I saw Shirley. We're friends now, you know what I mean? And we met in class. Oh, that's what I wanted to tell you. Yeah. If there's something you like doing, so like if there's a certain sport you're into, if there's a certain activity that you like doing, just go ahead, put that activity and then put in Lisbon and see if they have it. Like, let's say you're into Tai Chi. See if Lisbon has like a Tai Chi studio. And that way you're in doing an activity. I don't know why it didn't come to me earlier. You're doing an activity you love, and you'll get to meet other people that love that same activity. My friend Chris gave that example because he's from Sweden and he likes floorball. And I didn't even know this thing. So he said he would look floorball, and Lisbon has a good floorball community. And so that's how he instantly made friends pretty quickly. So that's a good tip. And for some reason, I couldn't think of it earlier. It's live, y'all. So yeah, just find activities that you enjoy doing and just, putting it in Google, seeing if that type of activity is in Portugal. And that way you can kind of have something there. And yeah, so if it's in Lisbon, most of the time, the good thing, I found it easier to find other expat friends, like other people that are from various parts of Europe and all across the world. I found it harder to find friends from Portugal. And I have no idea how to do that. Like, I want to meet more people from Portugal, but I haven't been successful getting any Portuguese friends yet. Not really. Not like, other like business owners. Like, most of the time when you go to a restaurant often, and I love this about it. Like, I don't care how many times I went to a restaurant in DC. Rarely am I going to end up knowing the manager or the owner. And in Portugal, that's really that's the case. And so you get to develop these relationships with the various places you go. And so I've met friends that way. So that's been pretty cool. I'm rambled. Sorry. Whatever. Did I answer your question? Okay. I think I have all the questions. Again, don't forget about the language course. Link is in the description. How to make friends. What is this? Okay. All right, that was Remax. Okay, I think we're good. I think I answered all the questions. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to switch it on over to the live questions that we have now and go ahead and get into it. Again, guys, if you are here and you want me to answer your question, just go ahead and put a Q by your question so I know that it's a question. And so let me filter Q for questions. Okay. If the plan is to retire in Portugal, it says it's worth bringing a car. Okay. So let me move that. All right. Okay, can I make this bigger? All right. If the plan is to retire in Portugal outside of Lisbon, is it worth it to bring a car? Why is this so small? I want this bigger. I guess it really just depends on where specifically, because I live in the Lisbon district. I don't live in Lisbon city center. So do I have a car? I do not. I'm right off of the train. So if I need to go to the city, I'll just get on the train and then get on the metro. So that's going to be a personal decision. And it depends, of course, obviously how far outside of Lisbon you're saying that you're interested in staying. So I do not have a car. I take the train and I'm good. So it's going to be... yeah, so someone's asking what neighborhood I live in. I live in Caxias. Okay, let's see. All right, question. Why is this so small? Can I make this bigger? Let's see. Hold on, y'all. I need to make this bigger because I can't see nothing. Because I'm blind. Oh, that's too big. I guess that's the size I gotta go with. Okay, whatever. All right, U.S. bank accounts. Okay, is it okay to use U.S. bank accounts to pay rent and buy groceries? Okay, so yes, for groceries, you can use your U.S. card for groceries. For rent, it really depends on how your landlord wants to accept rent. So for me personally, I transfer money from my U.S. account and through TransferWise, and then I wire my rent in my Portuguese account to my landlord. So you can use your U.S. card in a good amount of places, but it will not work in other places. So you can have both. If you're going to live in Portugal and you're going to pay utilities, like my utilities I pay it with my rent. So I don't have to set up utilities in my name. So I didn't have to do that. But that might not be the case. But certain places, my U.S. card does not work. So yeah. Okay, is there a requirement on the amount of money you need in your bank account when getting approved for a visa? I would imagine so. I think so, but they don't tell you what it is. No one's told me, at least. So actually, is that true? I think I may have read somewhere that there is a number. Like, I honestly don't know. I mean, when I applied, I didn't apply as retired. I applied as working remotely. So between my brokerage account and how much I could show that I made, I just kind of went with that. But I don't know if there's a specific number. And then move anywhere abroad, in particular Portugal. Okay. All right. What are the websites to start stepping to move anywhere abroad or particularly Portugal? What are the other options beside visa applications to move, if not mentioned at all? Other websites to move abroad, I'm not sure. I would say Google moving abroad and see what comes up. Far as what are the other options beside visa applications to move? I don't think I understand that question. What are the other options besides a visa application to move? I don't think I understand that question. So if you're going to live in someone else's country, you got to be there legally. So what being legal in whomever country is varies per country. Y'all get that, right? So what it takes to live in the U.S. is a lot. All right. So depending on there's a lot of countries since COVID that have done the digital nomad visa. That long as you can show that you have income from some other source other than that country, then you can live there. So I would suggest you get on Google. Get on Google and type, easiest visas for countries, digital nomad visas. If you can show that you make money outside that country, there are a variety of applications. But understand, if you are moving into someone else's country, the same way if you're a U.S. citizen and someone wants to move in the U.S., there's a series of things you have to do to be legal. And so there is going to be a visa process. It's just depending on the country, the visa process may be easier or not. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Charles, hey there. We are visiting Portugal next week for a month. What area on the coast do you recommend visiting a week? That really just depends on what you're into. I know a lot of people like, what is that? Cascais, and that's off the coast. If you go back to the video where I show you the map, you'll see the coastline, you'll see the water, and you'll see the various neighborhoods, and then you can pick your neighborhood that way. I don't know what you're into to be able to recommend places, and I haven't lived throughout the whole coast, but some people like Cascais. I did stay in Cascais for a little bit when I moved here. I didn't particularly care for it. I felt it was really family oriented, and I was there by myself, so I just felt uncomfortable. I felt lonely. But whatever is your thing, just type what that thing is, what you're looking for. Do you want to be close to the metro? Do you want to be close to grocery stores? Type that in Google and then Lisbon, and it'll pull that up so you can get a better idea as to where you want to be. But there is a series of cities all across the coast of Portugal. I don't know them all by heart. So I would suggest if you're coming, contact a real estate agent, and they'll be able to give you a better idea based on the amenities you want, prices, neighborhoods, all that stuff. And they'll base it off of what you want personally. Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Question. Is there an intermediate class for Portugal? We have a level 2 class, but we only have that class available for the people who took the level 1. So no, we don't. Let's see. Okay. Get that out of here. All right. Okay. How much money does it cost for a condo on first arrival to 3 to 6 months of staying? Folks, I can't answer that. Like, that's not, I can't give you that answer. Condos are going to vary the same way prices vary in the United States of America. Okay. Prices are going to vary in any other country, including Portugal. The question is too general because you got to say how many rooms, where are you trying to be? Is it in Lisbon? Do you want amenities? There's too much for that. Okay. So I would not be able to give you a price the same way I would not be able to give you a price if you asked me that question about a condo in Washington, D.C. So what I would suggest is contacting a real estate agent. You can email them. I showed you remax.com and get a better idea based on the amenities that are important to you. Again, remember, the higher you want up on your amenities, the more expensive it's going to be. So if you're attempting to kind of cut costs, then you might want to consider that. What is this? Does Portugal accept a negative? Oh, okay. So you're talking about, yeah. I don't, so this is a bit difficult. Any country can change their immigration laws based on what is going on in the world at a moment's notice. So you have to stay on the Portuguese embassy website to know what they require at the moment you're looking to travel. That is going to be critical for any international travel as we're still going through this thing, right? So I am a resident. So I get the negative test and I'm fine. If they can close down the borders to U.S. citizens at any moment if they feel like it. And right now there's some things that are coming on. So you have to look at the embassy website to kind of get an idea if at the time you're interested in leaving, what is going to be the requirements of the country you decide to choose to go to. I hope that makes sense. Let's see. And again, if you're just joining me and you want me to answer your questions, if you can put a Q by your question, it will help me. I really hate how teeny this is. Okay. How easy, expensive to travel to nearby countries from Portugal? Pretty easy. It's very easy. I would say that's from Europe in general. Europe is a very cost-effective place to travel all around. Like you can get tickets from like Ryanair for like 30 euros, 40 euros to go to like Sweden or whatever. So Europe, period, not just Portugal. You can go all across Europe. It's even if you want to go to Africa, Africa is closer than the States. So you can get there, I won't say relatively easily. It's still a series of hours depending on what part you're going to. So yeah, it is. It's easy, and it's very affordable. Okay. All right. Is it hard to get hair care products for Black females? I don't think it's hard because you got to remember, like, there's a lot of Brazilian, this hair we got going on, honey. There's a lot of, nationalities here that have it. I think the thing is, which I find is difficult in general, not just with hair care products, but just with products, is like brand identity. So, in the States, it was easy for me to know like what dishwashing liquid I was going to purchase or what soap I was going to purchase. I stayed brand loyal. And when I moved to Portugal, it's like you got to learn all that all over again. So there might be some great hair products that you may like or that could work well on your hair. Then the thing is like, well, I never used them before. So now you're going through this whole process of learning again. I would say for my sisters, bring some product with you, at least enough so that you'll have time to experiment with some new things. But there's plenty of spots here. You just might not know what brand to go to initially. And that is going to be with everything from your house cleaning supplies that you were used to cleaning your house with. You're going to have to like test and figure out what works for you in this kind of new space. Okay, so what are the current citizen expat vaccination requirements in the country? So again, folks, anything relating to that, you're going to have to go to the embassy because I'm speaking to you as a person who is a resident. All right, so I'm not a citizen yet. That takes 5 years. I can apply my 6th year. So as of now, if I have a negative COVID test, I'm good. I'm a resident. Now, remember, when I came to Portugal the first time, I was not a resident. I was on a tourist visa. So I was not allowed in the country at that time. They can change what the restrictions are for various people at any time they want, guys. We're talking about immigration. Immigrations, particularly in this current stage, is very fickle. So all the time, I'm going to recommend that you look at the embassy because here's the thing. I could say this on video now and tomorrow they change it. And now somebody is trying to come to Portugal because I said it was open and it was open that day. And then tomorrow they closed it. So, and this is for anything you look at, if you go on a Facebook group or anything, please go to the source that it can actually answer your questions accurately. And that's going to be the Portugal embassy. Because the restrictions are changing. They could say they're letting everybody in but U.S. citizens because that's what the case was. So you got to really figure that out. For a resident, I need negative COVID test. But there are various restrictions inside the country as far as like restaurants and where you go inside versus outside. So yeah. Shut down curfews. Okay. Okay, how are you getting your updated info on COVID-related travel restrictions, shutdowns, and curfew? The embassy. You can literally type into Google Portugal embassy COVID, and it'll come up with the websites for the restrictions, and that way you can look at the website and figure out if what you're doing works. You can also look if you're a U.S. citizen. Look at look whatever country you're in. Look at the embassy of your country as well, because your specific country may restrict travel as well. Even though one country may receive you, your country that you're leaving from does not want you to go. So it's important to kind of figure that out. Okay. And guys, if you have any questions, please put Q by your name so I can answer that. Okay. Did you speak another language before leaving the U.S.? Are you finding it easy? Okay, so that's a really good question. So I had like toddler level Spanish. toddler level, okay? And I took Spanish for 4 years in high school and college or something like that. So learning the language for me, and again, guys, we do have our language class coming up. So if you were interested in that, I want to remind you that we have it coming up October 5th, okay? So my language experience, the first year was super hard, and I didn't take it seriously because I lived in Lisbon, and for the most part, I can get by on English, right? So the second year, I moved to Caxias, and language is important. So now I can communicate I can communicate what I need. And so I'm going to do a video later this week on the tips that I use to help me better communicate and get the language together. One of the things is developing scripts. So so I would always practice with my Uber. If I was in an Uber, I would ask my Uber driver, "Posso praticar português, por favor?" And that's asking, can I practice my Portuguese with you? And if they said yes, I would, just basically come up with the script that I knew. I think Barbara was in our class, and I think Barbara gave this tip, and it helped me a lot. Okay, so when you were doing certain things, her in particular, she has dogs. And she said when she would go out, people would kind of ask the same questions, like, oh, how old is your dog? What kind of dog? So she had a script in Portuguese around that. And so she knew how to say that. So I think having scripts for various circumstances helps a lot because you end up reciting them more and then you start to feel comfortable. This is before you get into grammar or all that other stuff. Okay, just getting your little scripts here and there, and then you start feeling comfortable. Like I know if I meet someone for the first time, I could probably have a conversation about where I'm from, how long I've been in Portugal, and all that other stuff because of the scripts, if that helps. So yeah, but I plan on doing a video or going live later this week, kind of talking about my experience with the language. I think people. So here's the thing. Most of my friends are foreign. A lot of them are from Europe, and they speak 4 or 5 languages, right? Here I come with my baby level toddler Spanish and my Ebonics, and I don't know. They don't struggle because they're used to speaking so many more languages. And I think, and then too, I'm insecure. I'm probably the worst person when it comes to learning a new skill because I'm a jerk about it. Like I get really antsy and weird. So for people who are normal, you may not have that issue. Hope that helps. Okay. All right. Questions. Did you speak enough? Okay. My daughter is enjoying Asia. Okay. My daughter and I are enjoying traveling Asia due to convenience. Asia. Okay. How convenient is it to travel, live in Portugal? Transportation, but it's a city. It's easy. You're fine. Have you regretted your move to Portugal in terms of missing? It's a good question. Okay. This is the big question, y'all. Have you regretted your move to Portugal? No. In terms of missing family and friends. Guys, like I said earlier, there's just going to be times where it's going to suck. I mean, even for my friends here that we love our life in Portugal, there's going to be times when your family, something's going on or something happens or something, and you're just not there, and it sucks. It sucks. Because here's the thing, moving abroad is nothing about it is perfect. Does it suck so much that I would want to move back to the States? No. Look at me. No. And for the most part, like for those of you who follow me on Instagram and stuff, you saw that my best friend came to Portugal. That was her first time coming, and we had a blast. We made so many memories. It was wonderful. So I don't regret moving to Portugal at all. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made for me. But do I miss my folks? Absolutely. If I could just pick them all up and bring them, I would do that. But I miss them with my whole heart. So that never gets easy. Okay. All right. And guys, again, if you have any questions, if you can put a Q by that, it'll let me know that you have questions. Do you have any dietary restrictions? And if so, have you found it difficult to find food that works for you? Great question. I don't. I eat everything. But My best friend came into town and she's vegetarian. So I live about 25 minutes outside of Lisbon. So when we were doing all the beach things and stuff like that, like Portugal is heavy into fish and seafood, which I love, but she doesn't. So we would go places and my baby had to eat like a cheese sandwich or like some. So we kind of struggled, but once we got into, if you're in Lisbon, there are plenty of options. I heard Edacera has good vegetarian options as well, but there, if you're cooking, obviously you don't have any limitations. There's plenty of stuff at the grocery store and stuff for whatever your dietary needs are. There's organic stores, which are called bio here. So yeah, when you're eating out, the further you go and the less city-esque it is, the harder it's going to be to get, I would say, vegan and vegetarian options if that's your thing. Seafood is everywhere. You can go anywhere and get some seafood. But yeah, so we had a little bit of issues there. Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so how did you identify housing that is affordable for you and comfortable? I visited Lisbon this summer and I had a huge, woo, flying roach in my area. The place was not near taxis or trains. So I would recommend typing in metro or train into Google and then typing neighborhoods in Lisbon. And there'll probably be some stuff that'll come up as to what stuff was in a train. Luckily, thank God, I have not seen a roach. I do know that they exist. Josie told me like 3 weeks ago and devastated me ever since. So some of it's going to be hit and miss. The same way you could find some garbage in the United States is the same way you can find an apartment that doesn't work for you in any country, even Portugal. So there's been experiences of a lot of us having some, luckily, thank you God. I haven't had that experience, but I had friends that may have gotten an apartment that just did not work for them. And it was hard. So I hopped around a lot. I don't know if that helped me initially, but I would say the first year or first 6 months, actually, yeah, probably first 6 to 5 months, I hopped around all over Lisbon. And I think from that is how I decided what would make me comfortable or not. Like I stayed in, I think Baixa, was that Baixa? I don't remember the neighborhood, but it was super touristy and I hated my life. It was loud. It was terrible. I couldn't stand it. And so I knew I never want to live in that neighborhood again. And then I left. And then when I got an Airbnb, I was able to say, I don't want to live here anymore. I'd rather live here. So understand, folks, I get there's a lot of questions and I could try to answer them, but experience is going to be your best option. You cannot over research experience. So especially for you personally, because you may see some of us, living a decent life in Portugal, and then you may not like it, and that's okay. If anything I say here can be helpful for you, cool, go forth and prosper. But if it's not your vibe, it's not your vibe, and that's okay. But you kind of gotta check stuff out to feel what your personal vibe is, because your vibe and my vibe can be completely different, And because I travel so much, I'm a relatively low-key traveler. Like I could fit everything I'm gonna need for a trip in one bag and I'm rocking it out. That might not be everybody's vibe, so it just really depends. I hope that helps. Okay. All right, has it been hard for you in everyday life dealing with currency while shopping, transporting, town, eating in a restaurant? Currency in general? No. No. Yeah, no. The thing that's been an annoyance is the currency exchange. I talk about that all the time. The US dollar is it's worth less than euros. So when I have to transfer money for rent and I'm losing money every time, that hurts my feelings a lot. Okay, from this whole Expat experience. Ooh, good one. Ooh, Charles, you coming with the fire. Okay, everything that you have learned from this whole move and expat experience, would you do it again? Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like my life had changed so much in 1 year than it had in a whole decade. I think sometimes you get so caught up in the monotony of your life that you forget that you're not living it. You know what I mean? Like you wake up, you go to work, you talk to some people, you try to schedule time with your family and friends that you may not see that often, and then you go to sleep and you do it all over again. And that had, I was on, I think I was on autopilot for a good portion of my life. And moving helped with that. So I wish I would have done it sooner, to be honest with you. I really wish I would have done it sooner. Okay. Okay. Uh, how can you identify flat places, climbing the hills, whatever I wanted to come and go? So I don't all the way know because it's a lot of hills in Portugal. I was trying to think, is my neighborhood hilly? Yeah, it is. Alfama, super hilly. I could tell you that. But as far as like all the hilly place and how to find out if it's hilly, I'm not sure how you would find that out. I don't think I knew that before I came here and just went to neighborhoods and they were hills. But Portugal's hilly. There are flat parts and places. I stayed in Estefania, which I was a fan of. Sardinia, I was a fan of, and they were relatively flat. But Portugal's pretty hilly. Oh, you know what? This is what I meant. Someone asked me this question. They wanted me to talk about going to the doctor. And that's a really good question. I personally have not had to go to the doctor yet, right? But I do have some friends here. One has had surgery. Another one had a whole baby here. So I'm going to try to get them on so we'll go live so you can ask them questions about their experience with the healthcare system and that type of thing. So I did get my health number recently. That process was a lot easier than it was that I've heard it be for some other people. So super happy about that. So I'll try to get that content out for you. And so another question that came in, being financially stable is super important. What do you recommend for remote jobs? I can't. I don't work for anyone. I work for myself. I have a company. So I don't really have any advice on creating income that way. I would say just go ahead and look for jobs in the States if that's where you're coming from, and see what their options are for remote work, particularly if they allow you to live out of a country. And some of the companies are going to be a little bit of a hater because they want to live out of the country and they don't want you living out of the country. And then two, there can be some security reasons in regards to the firewalls being out of the country versus in the country. So just check that out. But look for remote work in the US, and then that could also help you make it a little bit easier when you're trying to get your visa to come to Portugal if that's what you want to do. Now, what I can help you in is if you want to create a skill or elevate your skill online, then I can help with that because that's basically what I do for my clients because I have a digital marketing company. So I have training. If you haven't seen it, there's the Digital Nomad playlist I have on YouTube that'll give you some ideas as to how you can start creating money for yourself online. And I'll do some more training on that. If you have not downloaded the Digital Nomad Toolkit, that's how you get on my list. Then we specifically talk about online business and strategy. So yeah, that meant to answer that. Okay. All right. Ooh, shoot. What did I just do? Delete. No, I hope that works. Okay. All right. Sorry. I see the questions. How long we been on here? We've been on here for a minute. Okay. Would I do it again? Flat places. I don't know. Are there any major concerns you've seen? Okay. So good question. I get this question a lot. And I want to put this in perspective because, let me talk to you guys about this. So I get a lot of questions about how is it being a black and be a black female. And so for those in my community that are not from America, who live in Europe and various parts of the country, I know you all get frustrated when people ask that question. More so, I think, because you might not be aware of what is going on in the States currently. So understand, in the U.S. doesn't really get European news, and Europe doesn't really get that much U.S. news. So there's a lot of drama going on in the States as it relates to race relations. That's just what it is. And so that develops a lot of trauma, and you either get it or you don't. So I had to put that caveat out there because I always get these questions of like, why are people in America always asking, what about black? And I'm like, because people get murdered and we're seeing it on TV and on video, and it's devastating. So I get the trauma. So I had to put that caveat out there. So people would ask me often, like, how do I feel being Black in Portugal? And for a while, I felt like I couldn't answer the question because I hadn't been here long enough to have enough experience to say, oh, this is how it is. So I've been here for 2 years. One of those years, I was locked down in the whole, the thing. You know what I mean? Can't say it because all the search engines get all weird. But in the thing, we were locked up. We were locked down, right? So most of that time, I was in my house. And then prior to that, I was here. And then 4 months in, I was in a whole full-fledged relationship and in love. And, so I was doing that. So here's what I will say. If you have not traveled out of the country often, this may be hard to grasp, but if you leave America, you're going to be treated far better as a person of color, in my opinion, than in America. You're looked at as American first, and then your color is looked at second. That does not mean there's not racism. Racism exists in various places, whatever. I personally haven't had any issues, but that does not mean that you may not. So the play on race that and the violence of race that's been happening in the States, if you're looking for safety, I mean, I feel far safer here in Portugal than I do in the U.S. Not even just with race, but also just in general. Like, it's aggressive there. And I don't even feel like people know it until you leave. And you're like, it doesn't have to be this serious. People not toting guns all the time. You don't accidentally have to get shot or get shot on purpose. Like, it's not a thing because there's not even guns in the country. I don't know about if there's guns in Portugal. There could be. I don't know. I haven't researched that. But I'm rambling. I feel like that was one of the things that I felt when I was traveling just in general. I traveled as a Black woman feeling much more at peace when I was not in the United States. That is one of the reasons why I said, I feel better when I'm not here. I don't want to be here anymore. And that wasn't just related to race. It was related to food. It was related to my mental. It was related to so many things. So what I had come up with, like, okay, I want to leave the U.S. Didn't know where. And Portugal just kind of came on the radar. Now, I did check safety. Portugal is one of the safest countries to move to. And that's also how it, checked the box in regards to where would I move to being, a single woman. So I always have felt safe. I mean, yeah, I think I haven't had any issues. But I'll spend more time talking about that probably in a separate video because I know people really want to know that, particularly when you come from the U.S. and it's got so much going on. Okay. All right. That's weird. How did I just do that? Link to the Portuguese class is in the description box, honey. Okay, let me change this up so I can see your questions better. Okay, all right. Hey, Cinnamon. Just curious what software you're using to stream and split. It looks amazing. Thank you, honey. So whenever I stream, I'm using one of three. Right now I'm using Ecamm. So I use StreamYard, Ecamm, or Wirecast every time I stream. Graphics I do in Keynote. Keynote is a presentation software it's like the Mac equivalent of PowerPoint. Large couple questions just before okay, I left a couple. Okay, let me see. Do you recommend keeping American Bank? It's really a personal decision. If your money comes from the U.S., it's probably required. It is required. If your money is coming from Europe, and then you don't have nothing to do with the U.S., you don't have to. But it depends on where your money's coming from. Okay. All right. How do you compare the winter and summer season there with DC? I'm from New England, so I'm used to cold weather and not a huge fan. Oh, no, it is. Portugal is typically warm 10 months out the year. Last winter was an anomaly. It was freezing. I was super cold last year. Last year, just the month of December. I say December and it's just so hard. December is definitely cold and rainy. Cold, I would say. The first year I was here, I literally went by the whole winter having a jean jacket and a scarf. That is how I went the whole winter with no problems. Last winter, last December was ridiculous. I have no idea what was going on. And even people who are from here, they were like, what is this? So, but it's not for long. Even if December is going to be ridiculous, it's not like it's going to bleed all the way into like several months. But Portugal is usually warm 10 months out of the year for the most part. Okay, health insurance. Is there a waiting period? Do they have clauses against pre-existing conditions? I have breast cancer. So health insurance is substantially different here. Like you get it from I got mine from my bank. So health insurance it's a whole different concept here than it is in the States. Like, you know how our health insurance is tied to a job? That's not a thing here, which is why health insurance is so much more affordable in Europe, period, than in the States. Like, one of my friends told me she upgraded her insurance to cover her in Europe and the United States, and her policy for the United States is better than the insurance she paid for in the United States. So she's, as a European resident, if she happens to go to the U.S. and something happens, I think she's covered for like $1 million. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I've been a little lazy on the health insurance part because I never increased my health insurance because we were locked down for a year. But if you missed the beginning of the stream, I do have some friends who've had surgery and that type of thing, and they have much more experience with the healthcare system than I do, and I'm going to bring them on, and we'll hopefully they'll say yes. I haven't told them yet if they're looking at this, but I'm going to ask them if they don't mind coming up and getting that information for you. Okay. All right, repeat the question. Okay, what app software are you using to broadcast? Super. Again, guys, the software I'm using is, there's a couple. So there's Ecamm and, what is this? I can't think of it. Keynote is what you see of these graphics. That is a PowerPoint, max PowerPoint version of software. Okay, all right. How do you get... Okay, how can you get American cable channels in Portugal? I don't know. I don't watch TV. How can you meet black men in Portugal? I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch TV, so I can't tell you that. And how do you meet black men specifically? So here's the thing, folks. If you want to date in a country, particularly Europe, like if you specifically just want to date black men and you pick Europe as your country to live, you might want to pick a country in Africa if you were specifically hell-bent on dating a black guy. They do have black men here. Obviously, we have black men from various countries here, but I would advise if you want to date and you're... Actually, I can't advise what you need to do with your dating life. We don't know each other. So you do what you want, honey. If you just want that, by all means, go that route. So forget what I said. I can't tell you how you should do it. There are dating apps here. I'm pretty diverse in my dating pool, and I'm having a good time. So we have that. Okay. All right. Okay. How easy is it to make friends in Portugal? I did touch upon this question earlier, Tiffany. So if you haven't seen that, I'll try to put some type of timestamps because we've been on here for a minute. I'll try to put some timestamps on the questions to make it easy to navigate this video when it's recorded. And maybe I'll break down the questions. But how to make friends in Portugal, very good question. I would say start off with Facebook groups, expat groups that are online. Ask people if they're interested in meeting. Find some activities that you like doing and see if they have them in Lisbon. If there's a class I want to take with the ribbon. You know how the ribbon hangs from the sky and people do like yoga and stuff like that? I don't know what it's called. Aerial yoga? I don't know what it's called. So I wanted to learn how to do that. And so I just put that in there in Google and say Lisbon. And guess what? There's a place that does it. So find some activities that you like doing because that way you'll be able to meet people who like the same activities. And yeah, so that's what I have. Tell me about the medical insurance. Wait, what is this? Okay, tell me about the kind of medical insurance that I need. I heard you should get a particular kind that will pay directly to the hospital instead of, I don't know what you're talking about actually. So if you heard that, I would suggest that you get more information from the person you heard that from, because I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I've noticed washing. All right. I've noticed washer dryers are not easily available when trying to rent. Are there laundromats available? There are laundromats. For the most place, every place I've rented had a washer. Now, dryers in general in Europe aren't necessarily a thing. You can find them. You will pay more for them. I don't have a dryer in my apartment. I do have a washer. For every apartment I've ever rented had a washer, but there are laundromats as well. There is one that has a wine dispensary, like a wine store right in the back of it. Brilliant. Why hadn't anyone thought of that, like in the States, to get your wine and your laundry done at the same time? I thought that was so brilliant. Okay, so there's a lot of comments on here, folks. If you put a Q by your name, I'm going to get ready to head out of here. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the other questions. Nicole, when you say expensive, are you referring to housing? Okay, when you say your housing, are you expensive food, everything? What specific expensive? Currently live in Shanghai, but from New York. Okay, well then, girl, you used to pricey. So rent, in my opinion, rent is going to be expensive in comparison to what people typically get paid here. And the fact that rent is so expensive makes absolutely no sense to me. Food, very affordable. And what else did you ask me for? Yeah, so the highest cost is going to be rent. And that's really just going to depend on what part of the country you stay in and what amenities you want and that type of thing. But if you're coming from New York, girl, you're fine. Okay, so I think, is it as expensive as DC, as New York? Listen, I've been looking at houses. The amount, it just depends, y'all. It just depends. What neighborhood? Okay, so I think, okay, so I think I tried to answer what I could. Look forward to when, do you know it would be an issue going to Portugal? Again, guys, anything related to being able to get into Portugal, go to the embassy website, please, because that's going to give you your most up-to-date stuff. You have enough time for expiration. Yes. Okay, yes. If you come, not just Portugal, but most countries, you need at least 6 months on your visa to get into said country. Please check with the country. Portugal, I think, is one of those. But just off of some, we've been in a whole, situation with the world. So I would say you want a good amount of time on your visa, not your visa, your passport, because you never know where you'll get stuck. Okay, how do I get a visa from Nigeria? I don't know. I don't know. Interested in learning Portuguese. I took the class. That's Shirley. Shirley's my classmate. Shirley came to visit. She said, for those of you interested in learning Portuguese, I took the class this year. The teacher, Inez, was great. She is. Plus, it was nice way to connect with other people with desires to learn and move to Portugal. Thank you, Shirley. When you coming back? I hope you staying for longer this time. All right, guys. So I think that is what I have for you. I'm perusing through these questions. Just not smart to move internationally if you've never tried. Just use it. I mean, yes, visiting a place is much. Hey, Marcus, it's so good to see you. I owe you a call and email. So if you see this and you're still on here, come on here with me or send me an email because we need to chat. What are the steps in moving anywhere abroad, particularly in Portugal? What are the website? Okay. All right, so I hope. Sure thing, Blacksit Global. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, I've been getting some questions and I wanted to make sure people were able to get some answers. And I think we are. Also, let me just say this. I see I came out of that search and I know that some people who are coming to Portugal and they haven't traveled abroad and they're getting frantic. Okay, I've gotten some emails and some correspondences from people who are really getting frantic, and they here and they're by themselves or whatever. So here's what I want to remind you guys. Like I told you, when I came and I was a very experienced traveler, I had some culture shock for a variety of reasons, and that may be expected. And just remember, if you are leaving America and you're trying to make America in a new place, go ahead, stay in America, because you're going to have a hard time adjusting, okay? Or whatever country you're in. If you're coming from your home country and you're trying to make that same experience in another country, then you are completely missing out on the whole purpose of moving abroad. And you may not, A, be ready, or B, this may not be cut out for, this might not be, your thing. And that's okay. No one should, bring that upon you. So you need to know that. And when you reach out to people, so here's the thing. If you just get here, there is a frantic stage. I told you I went through it, right? So when you're frantic and maybe not be thinking with the best logic at the time, is that the time when you want to meet someone? Because that is going to be their first impression of you. And if someone would have met me in my frantic state, they probably would have been like, this chick is crazy, and I'm going to need her to get her life together. But luckily, I was able to call my friend, thank you God, Maisha, who let me like completely lose it on her. You know what I mean? And she's known me to be relatively normal any other time. This was just a big decision. And I was having a hard time being alone and navigating. And that can be a lot of people's experience. So when you approach people, please do it in grace, because you don't want anyone to assume something about you that may not be your normal day to day, if that makes sense. Because listen, it's hard. It's not easy. I know you see people do it and you see the great parts of it. There are some parts that suck. Does it suck enough for me to want to leave? No. But like you said, your family is back there. Sometimes, bureaucracy doesn't happen as fast as you may want it to happen. Like, it's a lot. So just, take your time, be gracious. And some of you may be unhappy for whatever reason. And then you are left and you go to a different country and you're left there quietly. If you have not watched my experiences living abroad and those interviews, a lot of us talk about that, okay? If you had some type of issue and now you come into another country and you think it's going to be different, you have to sit with yourself in a longer period of time, and it is quieter, and you have to deal with it, okay? And if you're not ready for that, it can be a lot, all right? So allow yourself that grace to deal with it, okay? So I got to head out of here, y'all. I appreciate you all. Working in Okay, I gotta go, y'all. So I hope this was helpful. If I didn't get your question, maybe I'll do it again. But I will be going live this week. We'll have some of my classmates that I'm gonna be wearing them this week to come on live and talk about their experience learning Portuguese. Yeah, so hope that is, y'all, it's been a pleasure. Till next time.